and welcome to the First Watch podcast. My name is Drake. I will be your host for this podcast. I will be joined by a rotating group of friends who come together and discuss their first watches, whether they be from the 1920s, the 2020s, or anything in between. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy podcast, so if you haven't watched the movie already, you could either do one of two things. You could either, one, join us for the conversation and decide whether or not you want to watch the movie for the very first time, or two, you can pause this podcast, go watch the movie for the first time, and then come back and join us for the conversation. Now, without further ado, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the combo. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the First Watch podcast. I am joined by someone who's already been here, I think once before that we've published an episode. I think you've been here once. This will be your second time, right?
Second time.
Okay,
First time in 2026.
Yeah, first time in 2026. You were not wrong. For the second time on the podcast, today I am joined by Marley. We did a podcast on, it was 7, right? Yeah, you were my first one. What am I saying? Yeah, it was 7. We had a good time with that. Now we're ticking off yet another big movie on your watch list, The Princess Bride, which you had not seen before until yesterday. This is a movie that I absolutely love. I watched it quite a bit as a kid. Showed this movie as a kid by my parents, and it is something that I've kind of just like put on in passing, just like in the background, because it's just kind of like one of those calm, lovely movies. What did you think about The Princess Bride for the very first time?
First of all, thanks for having me back again, Drake. Always enjoy talking about movies with you. But I've honestly was shocked that I've spent 36 years on this planet without actually watching this movie. So, like, when you have like this brilliant concept for a podcast, the First Watch podcast, you immediately like jumped at that to like get this guy to watch The Princess Bride for the first time. So, like, my first like initial reactions for this movie was like also how similar it is to like movies that I've seen like already, like Shrek, Secondhand Lions, probably one of my favorite movies of all time, in my opinion. And just seeing kind of like stories told with an unreliable narrator and how like this film specifically kind of like birthed those types of movies. So seeing like that kind of like on the screen was actually kind of was very, I don't know, heartwarming and also kind of like great to see as well. But
yeah, I was watching the supplements for this movie. I had the Criterion version of this movie. So I was watching a lot of the supplements to get prepared for this podcast. And there was I can't remember his name, but he's a professor that talks about like story structure, all that fun stuff. And he was talking about how this movie takes kind of like what he called the Rocky and Bullwinkle effect, where it was like the fractured, story and puts it onto paper. This movie is based on a book that was originally written by William Goldman back in they wanted to originally do this in 1972. They could not do it. I think it was published in 1972. It was a book that Rob Reiner, who we sadly lost at the end of last year, was given by his father and was told, hey, you might enjoy this, give it a read. He did, and he wanted to make a movie out of this for a long time. And he started, doing other movies, other films that he did, and then Paramount was like, yo, whatever you want to do, you can do. He pitched Princess Bride, and they were like, not that one. And then he kept pushing for it for a while, and it wasn't until, 86, 87 that it finally got made. But it was originally written by William Goldman, I believe is his name, who's also done a lot of other amazing movies that we've all seen or at least heard of. And here, let me see if I remind, like Misery, Marathon Man, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Like he's written a lot of good movies. So it wasn't surprising that this one was going to be just as good, if not better in some people's eyes, as some of the other films that he's done. But I was watching the supplements and they're like, oh yeah, it took us forever to actually get this done. And when we finally did, we were like, oh yeah, Paramount will hopefully let us do this. And they eventually did. And they were searching around for a lot of people and had a lot of these cast members in mind whenever they were doing this film. So Carrie Elwes, Robin Wright, Andre the Giant,
Mhm.
who I don't really know outside of like this movie is I know that he's a wrestler, but I don't know him for his work in wrestling. I really mainly know him from The Princess Bride. But they were all like first picks for this film, and it works out perfectly because
Mhm.
the cast is great. They've all done, fantastic things after this movie, but they also leave a pretty good mark on this film as well.
Well, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the cast actually works like they bounce off each other like incredibly well, and also they just like just watching this movie, makes you really think of like fantasy as well, and like not only fantasy, but fantasy told by like an old grandpa like telling it to his grandson, and I don't know, I just like how wholesome that is. I like how wholesome, like like, the grandfather kind of, like, building, like, these characters to, like, throughout the movie and kind of, like also, I don't know if you got this, like, on the first time watch that when you watched this years ago or, like, on a rewatch for this podcast. Did you kind of, like, get, like, a feeling that that the grandfather was kind of, like hiding some stuff from, from the kid? Like, obviously, like,
Yeah, like
like,
he was editing it in his mind, like, as he was going.
obviously,
Yeah, now that I
there's
think
some, like
about it,
mhm,
like, I didn't come to that conclusion even the other day when I watched it because I watched this yesterday again,
mhm, yeah,
and when I come into these podcasts, if it's a movie that I've already seen before, then I will come into it with a different mindset
mhm,
whenever than a movie that I've seen a million times. Because this is one of those movies that I've seen quite a few times prior to this podcast.
mhm,
But when I do this, I like to go into it with a different mindset.
mhm,
So I was thinking about it a bit differently than I usually do if I'm just putting it on. Because I don't whenever I put it on, I don't necessarily have to think about it. Nor do I, that's not my aim. But for something like this, it's a little bit different. I didn't really think about that at all.
mhm,
Whenever he was narrating the movie, I was more thinking about the story that he was telling more so than the stuff outside of that. Because there are
mhm,
technically 2 stories being told in this movie in general. Like there's the fairy tale that the grandfather tells, and then the story between the growth in the grandson, who's played by Fred Savage, who doesn't have a movie or a name in the movie at all, and the grandfather throughout that time period. Because there is
mhm.
like a little bit of character development even in that small little story that is being shown on screen. So I didn't really think about it that way until you said something. And now that I think like now that I have it in my head, yeah, I can understand why you're like, oh yeah, he's probably hiding some things because he was a little like tepid about the kissing scenes even
Yeah.
in the book. So it wouldn't be surprising if he did actually like hide some things from him.
Well, I'm talking specific, not trying to, like, get completely, like, obscene,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah,
like, there's moments where I'm just like, "Could been, like, a really romantic, like, scene here," but, like,
yeah, like
Fred
a
Savage's character is just like, "Oh, is this a kissing movie?" Which
yeah.
I love, like, the constant cutbacks to that just because, like, I don't know about you, like, when I was a little kid like that, I'm like, Ew, 2 people kissing? That's gross," and then I you can feel like you said, like, you can feel, like, the grandfather kind of like, "Oh, I don't think kissing would be that bad. I'm just gonna mention this," and then his grandson tells him to stop, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to adapt this, like, later into the story," and, like, I've told stories to, like, little kids before, and you kind of, like especially when things get super violent, like, during, like, some of, like, the I don't wanna jump, like, all around, like, with this movie, but, like, I love, like, the way Rob Reiner specifically shoots, like, just, like the sword fighting scenes or even like the huge rodent like
Oh, dude.
in the fire swamp,
Yeah,
like
and we'll get to
that
that in a second, but yeah.
that's it can be that because I have a problem with like kids movies that get a little bit too scary for kids, but Rob Reiner kind of like walked like a very delicate tightrope where it's like it's scary, but it's also kind of like, oh, is he gonna is he gonna win and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You're rooting for the characters there without actually scaring like the audience. And I like that's what you said about the Fred Savage character doesn't actually have like a name, and I feel like that's almost on purpose. It just because that's because we are Fred Savage,
Yeah, yeah.
like Columbo or or who's the guy that plays the grandfather or
Oh, in the
Peter.
movie? In Princess Bride? I
It's
literally
Columbo, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who you're
that's who
talking
I know
I
him
don't
as.
remember his name off the top of my head, and I'm looking at the list, but I can't. I can't. Oh, Peter Falk, sorry.
Yeah,
I
Peter
knew
Falk.
that. I literally
Yeah,
listened to it yesterday. Anyways, go ahead.
it's fine. But Peter Falk is telling Princess Bride to us,
Yeah,
and as well as to his grandson. His nameless grandson, which is us. So
yeah.
I think that's like really compelling
Yeah, that's
storytelling.
I think it is really smart that they don't necessarily give him a name because
Mhm,
they're basically stating, "Hey, we're gonna tell you a story. We're
mhm,
gonna tell the general audience a story," which is
yeah,
ultimately what they do. But yeah, anyways, the story is, of course, The Princess Bride. The kid is at home sick. He's not feeling well. His mother has to go to work at night, and she's like, you know what? Your grandfather's gonna come over and babysit you. And this is when he presents the book of The Princess Bride.
he's
It
playing a nondescript video game, by the way.
Yeah, well,
Probably,
it's like a baseball NES game, and like I'm
yeah.
like, because I've played a baseball NES game, and I'm like, this don't look right.
No,
I'm like,
like
this is
I'm sure
strange.
I'm sure the kid's having a lot better time than
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
playing that baseball NES game.
yeah.
So,
I like that they got Fred Savage for to play the
mhm,
grandson. I kind of like that. You know, it was very early on in his career. He had more of a career later on, but it is kind of cool that you can kind of see where Fred Savage got his start. And then of course, like there's a ton of people in this movie that also get their start. Robin Wright obviously is the biggest
mhm,
one because they even have like a thing where they're like, and introducing Robin Wright as,
yeah.
as the princess. She's It's funny because in the credits and in the book and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, just imagine the prettiest woman in the world at the time. And then they're like,
Mhm.
Robin Wright. And I'm like,
Right.
fair, you
She is
know?
very pretty. She is very pretty.
Yeah, like I get that. I can get where that angle comes from.
Even though I hear when doing research for this podcast after watching the movie, I heard that Rob Reiner actually was thinking about Meg Ryan
Yeah, I think her name was being tossed around at the time.
because Rob Reiner would then go on to make probably one of the better romantic comedies like of
Yeah.
all time after this. So,
Yeah.
which it's interesting that this movie came first, in my opinion, just because there's so many lessons that you can see Rob Reiner has kind of like crafted in his film career and his personal life on how he kind of like perceives love. Like this movie is it's very much like two unlikely. It's just a typical love story of two unlikely people falling in love and what the power of true love. And then when Harry met, I don't want to spoil when Harry met Sally, but I'll just say that is probably like the biggest like warm hug love story that I can think of when Harry met Sally. But it's I don't know. It's an interesting progression for sure.
So yeah, we have Fred Savage, Robin Wright, Carrie Ellis, Andre the Giant. Billy Crystal
Mhm,
was in this for a little bit. He's if it wasn't for his voice being his
mhm.
voice, like I don't think I would have ever have known that he was in this movie because he plays like this, goblin-y-esque looking person. So I would have no idea other than outside of his
I,
voice because his voice is so distinctive.
can I just say that I did not even recognize him even with his
Really?
voice.
Really?
Yeah, his character is so like this may sound like an insult, but kind of like a video game fetch quest character
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
that you
100.
just kind of like that you kind of just stumble upon.
And
But
he's kind
I
of treated that way, yeah.
yeah,
He's very much
exactly.
treated that way.
Hmm,
Um, yeah, but there's so many names in this movie. So many
hmm.
names that we now know, obviously. Wallace Shawn in this movie is great. He plays, I think his name is Z or Vicini, I think. So yeah,
Inconceivable.
which I I have a note about that too. We'll get to that in a second. Anyways, stacked lineup, awesome. This movie starts out with Robin Wright. We see Robin Wright,
Mhm.
kind of just as a regular woman. They describe her as a commoner in the land. She's working on a farm. She comes across a farmhand played by Carrie Ellis, who his name is Wesley. They kind of fall in love together, and he is kind of whisked off to go on this boat to go do some work or whatever. I can't remember exactly why he was on the boat. She finds out, or she hears that he is dead, killed by a pirate, and she is just dumbfounded and upset. She's like, "Oh shit, I don't know what to do. He was my love, blah blah blah." As she is getting older and getting to a point of marriage, she is married off to what's his name's character? Fucking no, what's his name? Oh, Chris Sarandon, Prince Humperdinck.
Mhm.
Who, by the way, Chris Sarandon does a very good job in this movie.
Mhm.
Humperdinck is a hilarious name for a prince, but yeah, she's married off to him, and she obviously wants nothing to do with him whatsoever.
As typical arranged marriages go.
Yeah, yeah. As this marriage is about to happen, there are three bandits that see an opportunity to kidnap
Mhm.
the soon to be princess to then get money from Humperdinck in exchange for her. They kidnap her and hold her hostage. Played by Wallace Shawn, like I said before, Andre the Giant, and Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya. Those three
Mhm.
are the ones who kidnap her and take her away. Interesting pairing.
Very interesting pairing. I kind of like the whole Papa Bear, Big Bear, Little Bear like
Yeah,
situation there. You obviously not trying to no shade to Wallace or what's his name again?
Wallace Shawn.
So well Wallace Shawn. He is kind of like the Lord Farquaad
Oh,
like
very much.
type character where
Very much like the
he,
Lord Farquaad.
he sees himself a little bit bigger than a lot of people do, but
Napoleon-esque. Yeah,
yeah.
like very much
Uh,
a Napoleon syndrome. Thinks that everyone is beneath him intellectually, and
mhm.
he will do anything in his power to show it. He will make you feel like a dumbass in any way that he possibly can. All while,
Even though he's a dumbass himself.
yeah. He has this perception of himself that he is like overly like intelligent, but the thing is he's not. He also inconsistently uses the word inconceivable
Yeah.
like every single time, which is funny because later on in the movie, that'll actually come back to bite him in the ass. Because, and I'll get to that in a second. But he thinks he knows everything, but in reality, he knows little to nothing throughout the entirety of the movie. And he uses this quote unquote intellect to his advantage by lauding over people that would be of a lower intellect, like Andre the Giant and Manny Patinkin's character, Inigo Montoya.
Mhm.
He tries to like assume power, even though in reality he has none.
Yeah. He
It's
only has power amongst these
yeah, he
individuals
only has power
that
within
that
these
are
three
easy
people,
followers.
which is crazy because if you look at Andre the Giant, someone who is literally a
Mhm.
giant, who is 530 pounds, and you've got Wallace Shawn, who's barely hitting 4'5" or 5 foot. He could just grab him and toss him whenever he wants. But he's like, you know
Right.
what? He seems to know more than me, therefore I'm gonna let him kind of do his thing.
Right.
Which is
In
crazy
a
because there's no
way
point. He can just throw him around.
in a way, but it's I don't know. That's what's so interesting about the Andre the Giant character,
Yeah.
just because I feel like there's ways that there's moments throughout the film that Rob Reiner kind of like peppers in where he could just punt him if he really wanted to.
Oh
The
yeah.
moment like where he basically tells Andre the Giant to like to take out the I there's a lot of people's
The
names in
masked
here
man,
in yeah, the mass man.
who's eventually revealed to be Wesley.
Yeah, it was a shocker that no one was able to figure it out,
Yeah.
especially the Robin Wright character.
Yeah.
But, like, there's a moment there where he was just like, "Oh," these are my morals that like to take out the man in the mask. Like I don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
Like why am I listening? Why am I listening to this little dude? But he continues to listen to him. Like almost kind of like Wallace's character is basically is kind of like an Elon Musk in a way,
Yeah.
where it's like I don't know, but
A false
not
sense
trying
of
to mention.
intelligence, even though
Mhm.
there's really none there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just has this weird air of confidence within himself, and he likes to use
Mhm.
it against other people throughout the entirety of the movie. And it later, those who have actually seen it know that it comes to bite him in the ass later on. But yeah,
And he's
they
not even in the movie that much. Like maybe like 15, 30
yeah, he's
minutes, like
probably in
one
it
of my
15 to 20 minutes. Now, granted, this movie is not that long. It's only an hour and 20 minutes.
yeah.
It is a
Mhm.
very short watch. It was a very easy watch. But he is in it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. But in that 15 to 20 minutes, he has some of the best fucking lines.
Yeah.
Like, one of the best insults I have ever heard in my entire life is whenever he is talking to Andre and he calls him a I want to see if I can get this right. Hippomotamic landmass. And one of my favorite all-time insults. Like, it's
It's
such a good insult because it's like,
it's something
it makes you
if
think.
someone were to tell that to me where I'm just like, "What?
It's like,
What'd you call?"
what you calling wait, you're calling me big, you're calling me a landmass, which I mean, fair. You look at Andre, he's fucking huge.
Yeah.
He's like 7'1". What duh. Right? He's massive. But hippomotamic landmass is an interesting connection of words in the same sentence
Yes.
that is just wild. And it
It
obviously has a lot to do with the writing, and I don't know if it was in the book because I've never read the book, but if it is only in the screenplay, that is fucking fantastic.
it's pure genius, and I've heard of the book. I've never read the book either, but one interesting fact that I also found out, like, about the book is that after the movie came out, like, the writer continued to, like, update, like, the book and, like, add, like, little notes about, like, the movie and, like because like, the book is also very, like, metatextual as
Yeah.
well,
Well, he also
like, this
wrote the
entire movie, but
yeah, he also wrote
oh,
the
go ahead.
screenplay as well, and they actually in one of the supplements, they show, like, the difference between how he writes screenplays versus how others write screenplays, and it's very much that of, like, an author, like, where
Yeah.
everything is, like, spelled out and
Mhm.
descriptive, whereas, like, in a general screenplay, you look at it and be like, outside, night fog or whatever. He's like, there's a haze across the blah blah blah, cut to blah blah
Mhm.
blah. Like
Yeah.
it's a little bit more, spelled out. But I would not be surprised if like during the filming process when they actually put, story to screen, he
Mhm.
decided to update some things. And
And it us well, go
no,
ahead,
no, go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
No, it usually that's a can be perceived as, like, a bad thing. It's like, for example, George Lucas and Star Wars and people, like, upset that he's, like, kind of, like, changing, like, the fabric of this universe, but I feel like the way, like, the author and the screenwriter did it for A Princess Bride, it's more like, granted, I haven't read the books, but from what people have told me, it seems like it's definitely a more authentic way to kind of, like, to keep, like, the story, like, alive and, like, more relevant to today because fantasy while I'm not, like, the biggest, like, fantasy, like, watcher or reader,
Mhm.
it's definitely, like, a medium that can be, like, the most relevant to, like, society today because it's writers kind of like diving deep into the atrocities that we're experiencing today and have experienced, but with the lens of like elves and fantastical creatures and fantastical worlds. So it's ways for writers to kind of like to work stuff out for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they had a good balance of that.
Mhm,
I'm imagining, I'm assuming that, whenever they got to be on set and were kind of working things out, I'm sure that they were
mhm,
able to balance everything perfectly. I do wanna continue on with the story a little bit.
mhm,
So, one of the shots that is, like, considered one of the most iconic shots of the Princess Bride,
Mhm.
of Princess Buttercup like riding in the field on the horse, and they had that
Yeah.
lens flare. Apparently, Rob Reiner was not happy about that. That was in
Really?
the very beginning of the movie, and he was like, "I am not happy about this. I want the lens flare to go away," because
Mhm.
he didn't want it to seem like a movie. He wanted it to seem like a story.
Mhm.
And there was just that one lens flare that they just could not get rid of. And they did it like 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many times they did it, but there's a few times,
Mhm.
and they just couldn't get it right. And he was just not happy about it. He's like, up until his death, he was like, I'm still upset about it. I still don't like it."
That's funny.
But yeah. There's been
But
a couple
that's
interviews
funny
where he's done
because
saying like,
I feel like that's the moment where it feels more like a storybook. Not trying to like go against like Rob Reiner's like word and his feelings, especially after he died. Like rest in peace, Rob Reiner. But it's I don't know. I like that shot specifically just because it gives like a very silhouette and kind of like pop up like look to it. Like this whole movie kind of has like that feeling to it as well. I love like just like the sets that like I know a lot of people would kind of look at the movie like this now, and I did a little bit with this lens on how it kind of looks a little dated, but in a way it doesn't, just because all this stuff is real. Like like they actually like built like these sets, like the castle being kind of like like a styrofoam castle. Like that still looks like it still looks really good. Like that's like handmade, and I don't know. It, it it goes back to like what Rob Reiner was trying to like bring to bring to this production, is making it like a storybook or like a pop-up book. And I don't and I think he succeeds. So I don't think he should be mad about that shot
"Y
or anything about this movie because he
no,"
succeeded.
'cause it doesn't really take you out of the movie. It doesn't take you out of the
Mm,
story. It doesn't
mhm,
impede it in any way.
mhm.
Um, I funny funny thing to me is that, like, they had that ship that was in the movie for, like, maybe 5 minutes. They actually built that. Like, it was legit, like, a massive ship. That ship was there for all of 5 minutes. For them to just be on the ship with her on it to try to get away,
Mhm.
and then she jumps off in the water, and then they obviously have the eels, but then they all abandon ship and leave. The ship is in the
Yeah.
movie for all of, like, 2 to 3 minutes in total. Like, that's
I feel
crazy
like now
to build
it would
that.
just be green screen.
Yeah. They built a like, a functional thing. Like, I saw the behind the scenes, they were actually all, like, in a, water thing. That it wasn't that high, the water didn't seem to be that high, but they were sitting there and on an actual ship. Like, Rob is, like, on the ship, like, working everything out,
Mhm.
all for it to be there for all of 2 to 3 minutes. Like,
Yeah,
what kind of fucking money are you throwing around? They're
he
like, "We're gonna
and
build this thing."
it's crazy is because, like, especially after Rob Reiner was tragically taken from us,
Yeah,
I did a lot of research about his other films because I am pretty much underwatched on a lot of his films,
same.
but he it's also it was also very sad to hear that he struggled to get funding to a lot of his movies. Like, I think one producer really funded pretty much all of Rob Reiner's films, and
Yeah.
even that one producer had to, like, kind of, like, open up the piggy bank a little bit. I'm not trying to, like, use that term, but it's just, like, it I don't know, it just shows, like, Rob Reiner, like, while I'm not connected to this film like other people, I really just admire, like, his passion to just kind of, like, make the art that he wants to make,
Yeah.
like, and whether it's like a cultural, like, beloved, like, movie like The Princess Bride, like so be it. Like, and even if it's not, he still made something that he's proud of, and that is like when you're an artist, and you know this, Drake, as well. It's like when you work on something that maybe like 3 people will see, but you're proud that you put in the time and effort,
Yeah.
that's a that's what it matters at the end of the day. And I think, like, more people need to have, like, the Rob Reiner kind of, like, outlook on when creating art, but
Yeah. Yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff. Norman Lear is one of the ones who actually, like, really spearheaded this movie. and a lot of
Mhm.
his other films, and if it wasn't for Norman Lear, I don't think we would have gotten this. I don't think we would have gotten, like, Stand By Me or anything like that. Because if you
Mhm.
look at Rob Reiner's, like, filmography for those, there's, like, 6 years, 7 years where it was just hit after hit after hit after hit, like, it was insane, like,
Well, he did Spinal Tap,
he did
then he
Spinal
did
Tap, yep,
yeah,
which I was so
which
happy to see Nikki Glaser wear a Spinal Tap hat during the Golden
mhm.
Globes. I really appreciated that because that was her
I
kind of,
love it.
like, nod to Rob Reiner. She's a comedian that was hosting the Golden Globes a couple nights ago. She wore that hat, and I thought that was really cool because she has said that she's a big fan of his. Let's see, hold on. Got The Odd Couple, like, the older, like, Odd Couple from the '70s, Rockford Files. He's done, like, now granted, that was all stuff that he did, like, on screen, but
Mhm.
even the stuff that he directed, like, was insane. But he was also even recently, he was on a few episodes of The Bear, which was awesome to see him as, like, the guy that comes in and tries to franchise things and, push things along, and I think he did a good job there. And it's just, really sad to see what happened to him in the past year, but he does have a massive legacy that is obviously gonna live on. Yeah, I like the way that he went with this movie. Anyways, as we were, going further on, I noticed a lot of, like, cool creations in this movie as far as, like, the eels were really well done. Whenever they jumped in the water and you're like, "Oh, yeah, the man-eating eels, well, they can smell your scent," or whatever.
Right.
And you look at the eels, and they're almost, like, Henson Family-esque, the
Yeah.
way that they look. And same with the rats too, like, in the fire was it the Firestorm Jungle or the Firestorm Woods? Those rats are, like, terrifying. There
Yeah.
are obviously people in those suits, but those suits are, like, terrifying.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying, like, just seeing, like, even, like, the way the rats, like, I forget what they're actually called, but they're, like, the human-sized, like, rodents or whatever they called them, it's like it was like an acronym. It was a real funny acronym,
Yeah,
had me laughing,
yeah,
but just seeing, like, the way it's revealed, it just pops up in the background, and it's just watching, like, the both of them, and they're like, "Oh, we better watch out for, like, these human-sized rodents." And then the one just, like, attacks Wesley, like, in the fire swamp, like,
yeah.
it's, uh, it it's insane, and, like, one I know I'm coming with this episode with a lot of fun facts, but, like, you actually are right, Drake, that there was, like, humans, like, inside, like, that rat suit, and the funny thing is that I found out is that the dude that was inside that, he was, like, super short and had, like, a bunch of, like, tattoos, and, like, the night they were supposed to, like, film, like, that scene, he went out drinking, and he got arrested.
Oh,
He he
Jesus.
he got arrested,
Oh, no.
and so, you can actually see it. I might actually have to rewatch this movie because you can actually because when they were had to film, like, this crucial scene,
Mhm.
they couldn't have the actor in the suit, so it's really just Carrie Elwes just having, like, the rat suit just,
Oh,
like,
like,
on
on
top
top
of
of
him,
them?
like
Yeah.
yeah, empty like, an empty rat suit, and it's
That's
just like,
so funny.
it's so
And that
funny,
was, like,
it's
the
so
one of
funny.
the funny thing is that was one of the first scenes that they shot, was
Mhm,
in the woods.
yeah,
That was, like, the first week on set.
mhm.
How do you get arrested within the first week of being out
Well,
and out?
he was, like, an alcoholic, big
I
time
mean, so was
alcoholics.
Andre, but, like,
Mhm.
Andre at least showed up to work.
Yeah, and well, I've also heard stories about Andre the Giant too. I
Yeah, there's
think
a
Mandy Patinkin about saying that he has, like, the nastiest farts,
oh, yeah. I mean, someone that big,
like, on
obviously.
set,
Yeah.
like 16-second long farts, which I'm
Jesus.
like, 16 seconds? Like,
That's a lot.
that's that's a long time
Yeah.
to be farting.
Oh,
I love Andre the Giant. He's
I do
such
too.
a gent
I
and
I
and
love
to
his
hear that
character.
he's such a gentle soul,
Oh,
like, on
yeah.
set was, like I don't know, it really he really is, like, the definition of a gentle giant for sure.
And that's what, like, there was an interview that they have on the Criterion supplements where they talked about him for a second, and you could tell that they all just adored him,
Mhm.
like, they loved him to death. he was one of those guys who could like drink a lot of shit and put it all away. There's actually supposed to be a scene at the end of the movie where, they're like, as you wish. Like the grandfather was talking to the kid and he was leaving. He was like, as you wish.
Mhm,
And they were supposed to do a scene where Fred Savage looks into the window outside,
mhm,
and they were gonna have the four of them on the white horses that they leave the kingdom on. They're gonna have
mhm,
all four of them kind of just ride up and like look at Fred Savage.
mhm.
Um, but Andre the Giant is 530 pounds. He's a big fucking dude, right?
Yeah.
So they had to like harness him and get him on wires to take some of the weight off the horse.
Oh, jeez.
That day, he had started drinking at 9 a.m. He drank
Okay.
20 he drank 20 wine bottles and wasn't
Why?
even wasn't even really drunk. 20 wine bottles. Do you know how
That's
much that
insane.
is? That
I
would kill
I
you
know
and
it's a
I.
lot.
Like
Yeah.
5 of those in one day would put me on my ass.
One of them would put me on my ass.
Yeah,
I'm
20. He drank
yeah.
20 and was just like barely tipsy to where he was like, like he was just like waving at everybody, like smiley and jovial. And I'm like, how the fuck this massive man can drink 20 wine bottles and still show up to work better than the guy who's in the rat suit? And this guy is on screen.
That's funny.
Wild.
That's wild. I love that you tied it back to like the dude in the rat suit, but it makes you wonder just like if you can't get drunk after drinking alcohol, like then what are you drinking alcohol for? You're just
Mainly
poisoning
for
yourself.
the taste, I think, for him, because there are a
Yeah.
couple of stories like that. I've heard plenty of stories about Andre where he would, go and drink, but the thing is, like, because he can't get really all that drunk all that fast, like, he would just keep going. But then again, he was also in a lot of pain, especially
Yeah.
around that time, because this was I can't remember, this came out maybe 5 years before his death, because he died in the
Mhm.
'90s.
Yeah.
So this came, you know, 4 or 5 years before his death. And then, he had a few more appearances as a wrestler, but a lot of people, even in the wrestling world, I don't know much about wrestling, but I have heard stories about Andre near the end of his career where he was in so much pain that he couldn't really do much. So he would go and drink in order to numb a lot of the pain that he was dealing with. Um,
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad too, just because whenever you do hear about like wrestlers, they always die young,
yeah,
like Andre the Giant, which is like tragic. But also, it makes you kind of like it makes you sad, but also a little bit glad as well that you see kind of like wrestling progressing to where it is today, where
yeah,
you see like people like Dave Batista change like his body type and slim down, or even someone like Dwayne Johnson that is like he's seeing like the negative effects that he's putting on his body to like for entertainment purposes, like wrestling is doing to like these human beings,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, we can't do this like uh we can't do this for the rest of our life
yeah,
because obviously like what happened with Andre the Giant. So it's like it's sad that we have to lose people along the way for people to actually kind of like see that, but it's also just sad because I wish Andre the Giant could actually see like someone like Dwayne Johnson or Dave Batista, and he could have like learned from them, because after watching this movie, I want to see more Andre the Giant movies because
yeah.
he's great in
No,
this.
yeah,
So
he's fantastic in this. He definitely plays that like gentle giant role really well. He like he's supposed to be treated as this oaf, as this big old oaf
mhm,
who can't get anything right. He
mhm,
has no morals, he has no intellect, at least according to Wallace Shawn's character. He
mhm,
has no intellect, therefore he is only useful for his brute force, which is
mhm.
ultimately what they use him for. You know, they use him to carry the princess around and take care of Wesley, which
Climbing up a side of a mountain, the rope,
yeah. So by the way,
which
like how the fuck was he able to? Because you see that rope. That rope is not that big. It's not that. It's not
no,
that. you've got 3 people on that
Yeah.
4 people on that rope. You've got
Yeah.
Andre, who's 530 pounds. You've got,
Yeah.
Robin Wright, who's maybe a buck 20 at that point. You've
Mhm.
got Wallace Shawn, who's probably a buck 40.
Yeah.
And
That's
Patinkin,
because he's short, but
yeah,
just
Manny Patinkin, who's at least a buck 80.
yeah.
That rope ain't holding close to 1,000
No.
pounds.
And I feel for Andre the Giant's character, like, when he finishes climbing up the mountain and everyone gets up, everyone's helping each other up,
Yeah.
but when Wallace is Sean's character, like, he finally gets up, he doesn't even help up Andre the
Nope.
Giant.
He's like,
He
"Get to
just
work. You
cuts
got it."
the rope.
He's like, "You got it. You're fine."
I'm like, "Damn, savage."
Uh,
I know that's, like, his character, but,
I'd be
like,
like,
that
"Come on,
even
have a
that seems
little bit of
ruthless.
empathy."
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That scene I really love. I don't know if you've watched the show Psych, but, like, them climbing up the mountain and then
Mhm.
Wesley being on the side of the mountain. So,
Yeah.
Cary Elwes plays a character by the name of Pierre Despereaux in the show
Mhm.
Psych. He is this art thief, this, like, British art thief that goes, like, toe to toe with Sean Spencer throughout pretty much the entirety of the show, at least from season 3 or 4 onwards.
Mhm.
Um, I texted our mutual friend Bakash whenever I was rewatching this movie, and I was like, I think that scene of him going up the mountain and them having a tit for tat at the
Yeah.
top of the mountain versus him being at the bottom, I think I would not be shocked if the casting director and the writers and everybody involved over at Psych would have looked at that scene because they're all massive film fans. It is very obvious if you watch the show Psych that they're all, influenced by entertainment in some way because
Mhm.
it's all over their fucking show. You'll see
Yeah.
allusions to many other things. There's allusions to 711 different films in Psych
Oh, damn.
and at least 711 films in Psych. And it would not be surprising to me if the tit for tat that they had on the side of the mountain is what caused them to be like, "Hey, we should get Cary Elwes for this particular character as Pierre Despereaux," because I saw a lot of Pierre Despereaux in that exchange that made me
Mhm.
go, "Oh, that's probably why they got him as Pierre." Chris Sarandon is also in Psych at some point, and he's
Mhm.
also in this movie. So it would not be surprising to me if that is why they got him. I don't know why that came to my mind whenever I was rewatching it, but then I
Mhm.
started thinking about it and I was like, "Oh shit, like I think that's why." I would not be surprised.
No, I think that was probably their intention as well.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen the show Psych, but I think what I love most about, like, this current generation or within the last 5 or 10 years, a generation of filmmakers is that they grew up with, like, the movies that we love,
Yeah.
and they're referencing, like, all of those movies, like, in the creations that they make because, like, as much as, like, people like to say, like, "Oh, we need more original films," which we do, like, even those original films have, like, peppered in references just because we all love movies.
Yeah.
Like, whoever whoever's making, like, anything, like, we all love movies in some form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Obviously right after that cliff scene, they go
Mhm.
into the really long battle between
Sword fighting.
sword fighting between Inigo Montoya and Wesley. They actually
Yeah.
had, like, an actual sword master come out. I think it was an English sword master that came out and taught them,
Mhm.
like, how to do this. They had worked on it for months. Their goal was to make it longer than the sword fight in the movie Scaramouche, which I still haven't seen.
Mhm.
But apparently that at the time, that was the longest sword fight that had happened on screen, and they were
Mhm.
looking to beat that. So they were like, "We don't care, like, how much longer it is. We just wanna be able to beat that to say that we beat that." So then they came up with that entire choreography. I think, Mandy Patinkin, the stunt coordinators, and Ellis came together and were like, "Hey, let's do this." They ran it several times. You can actually see some of the deleted, like, behind the scenes of them, like, doing the whole routine, but then they
Mhm.
would, like, slow it down, speed it up, slow it down. They had got so used to it that they had done it too fast several times.
Mhm.
So then Rob had to be like, "Yo, just slow down a minute. Like, just slow down, and then let's
Right.
redo it." And then they redid it and obviously got the scene that we got, and it's really well done. It is them actually doing it other than maybe, like, the flips and all that fun stuff, but, like, everything else
Yeah.
is all them, and I don't know how many months it took, but I'm glad that they put the time and effort in because it shows on screen that they were the ones who put the time and effort in for that entire sequence.
No, exactly, and it goes back to, like, what you're saying, like, about them building a boat,
Yeah,
like, for just, like, a 5-minute scene, less than 5-minute scene, like, the boat's not even, like, in most of the shots.
yeah.
Like, if you put in the effort, people will see and they will be they will notice, they will notice that effort, and, like, I love that scene as well. I think it's a great sword fight scene, but watching this movie in 2026 after coming off of the smash hit Heated Revelry, I couldn't help but see some of the homoeroticism
Oh, yeah.
between these 2 characters as they were kind of like, I don't know, just the way they're kinda like that they were standing and kinda, like, facing each other off. I'm just like, "Do they feel something for each?"
Oh, they
Like, I
definitely
know
do.
Rob Reiner was like, especially at this time, like, he is definitely, like, probably the most progressive, like, filmmaker, even, like, before his passing, sadly. Like, he's always been, like, standing up on, on gay rights and, and human rights for that alone. But I couldn't shake that feeling. Did you feel this, like, on a
Oh, yeah,
rewatch or
like, even, like,
yeah.
whenever they get to the castle and stuff, there's definitely some sort of, like, small,
Mhm.
very minute tension there. It's
Yeah.
not, like, extremely palpable, but there's like, wait a minute." I think
Yeah.
it's mostly due out of respect, but with that respect comes a little bit of that electricity between
Mhm.
the 2 of them. But it's
Yeah.
100% based on that respect of, like, "Oh, you've studied this craft, I've studied this craft, we're doing this dance together," essentially as a dance together,
Mhm.
and we're both good at the dance, like, separately,
Mhm.
but also together,
Yeah.
which is what they ultimately like about their exchange is that they're good at that together, and they're the only ones who they've found in their time, you know, whether it be as a pirate or whatever,
Mhm.
to then have that be cohesive.
Now kiss. I'm
Yeah, I
just
know,
kidding.
right?
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
right. But, well, that's why that's, there's Wesley's respect for Inigo Montoya is shown on
Mhm.
screen by
Mhm.
him not, choosing not to kill him at the end of the fight because Wesley ultimately wins the fight, but chooses not to kill Inigo Montoya due to that respect that he has for him based on his skill. And so he leaves him be. They both leave. That was kind of like, you know, they they break down in some of the behind the scenes that Wesley had 3 tests against all 3 of the quote unquote like bad guys, even though technically they're really not bad guys other than Wallace Shawn,
Mhm.
his character. But like there were 3 different tests. You had Andre first, or no, technically for first. Then Andre came up where he was throwing rocks at him. He was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you don't need to do this. There's no
Yeah.
need." So he appealed to his heart and was able to get him to stop.
Used empathy.
Yeah, used empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously getting to one of the better scenes in the movie where it is that test of wit,
Mhm.
which is honestly like one of the coolest scenes out
Yeah.
of the entire movie and is one that really stuck out to me. Um, so as we get to the third and final quote unquote battle of Wesley and all of these enemies on screen or like these the bad guys that he's trying to get past in order to get to Princess Buttercup, we
Mhm.
come to the inevitable battle of the wits. As we know, Vicini, I think is how you say his name. Throughout the entirety of this movie, he is incorrectly using the word inconceivable. He has no idea how to use this word, and it is actually brought up a few times that he doesn't know how to use the word by other characters because they're like, "I don't think you know what that means." But this is
Well,
exactly where he learns what it means.
mhm.
Is
I just have before you mention that, I just have one thing to say about that. I love that, like, within the first few minutes of meeting Vicini,
yeah,
you like he's constantly saying the word inconceivable, and it's like it's so many times. And then I love the Mandy Patinkin character basically just calls him out for it and be
Yeah,
like, I don't think you actually know what that what that word means. And it's just like it's almost like that character is just like the audience, where it's just like him calling out like Vicini's character for like using a word that it's those people that like subscribe to dictionary.com and they
right.
get the word of the day and they're like, hey, I'm going to use this word 5 times today. So
Well,
inconceivable was Vicini's word of the year in a way.
yeah, yeah, word of the lifetime. Funny thing is that, like, he kinda does know what it means. He doesn't
Mhm,
realize it, but he knows what it means, simply in his own beliefs, based on the way he presents himself, based on the way that he talks to other people. He does ultimately know what it means.
mhm,
And I say that by saying he has an attitude that it is inconceivable, but that anybody else around him could be smarter than him even a little bit.
mhm,
It is obvious from the moment we meet him to the moment he dies.
mhm.
Uh, he is constantly trying to one up people, as I said earlier, on intellect and make them feel lesser than and feel like a fucking moron throughout the entirety of his life on screen. And yet uses the word inconceivable completely wrong the entire time. But he believes, based on the way he talks to people, that it is inconceivable that others could be smarter than him
Mhm,
completely. And we really get to see that during the battle of wits that
mhm,
him and Wesley have. He obviously meets Wesley at like this hilltop area, grassy area, and Wesley proposes this battle of wits. And, Vicini is like, bro, there's no way you're going to beat me in a battle of wits. It is inconceivable to me. I am not going to say it out loud, but it is inconceivable to me that you are going to be able to beat me in a battle of wits. There's no way. Right.
yeah.
And he, like, one of the coolest lines that he says, ever heard of Socrates? Ever heard of Aristotle? Ever heard of, who was the third one? Was Socrates, Aristotle,
Shoot.
and Plato?
Yeah.
He's like, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, morons. Like, that's those 4 words in that one sentence is all he has to say to be able to say, "Hey, I'm smarter than all,"
Mhm.
because all these people who are seen as like some of the best thinkers of our time, to me, are morons.
And that ends up being like you said, that ends up being his downfall because like that's why I love the character Vicini so much. I don't think he's my favorite character in this movie, but it's it's the people like that you meet like in everyday life that think that they know all the answers, thinking that they're smarter than everyone else. Those are actually the ones that are most stupid. It's the people that don't know all the answers. Like Wesley doesn't know all the answers here, but he's willing to like hear like this guy out and and kind of and learn like who this person is. And that's why he ends up beating him in the battle of wits, is because like he knows he doesn't know all the answers, but he's willing to listen. But
Yeah,
the thing is about Vicini is that he's not willing to listen because
it
he's just like, "Oh, this guy's a dumb moron."
yeah,
Just like just like Plato and Aristotle. So it's like yeah. It's that's why I love humans so much, because it's like it's so like you get people like that where it's like, because I feel like it's humans like best interest. Like we do want to know everything. We want to keep learning. We want to like know more than like the next person. But it's like, if not to bring up this movie, but I know you really love this movie and I do as well. But
yeah,
if you end up being like a Marty Supreme, then that will end up being your downfall. And I feel like
yeah.
Vicini is definitely the Marty Supreme of this movie for sure.
Oh,
So
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
And he manages to do what a lot of people who kind of feel the same way that they do, or that Bassini does about their own intellect, do
Hmm.
constantly, and cause to be his downfall, is work himself up in a circle that eventually ends up causing him to like crumble. Because most people who believe that they're extremely intelligent or think that they know more than they actually do about a topic, really all you have to do is be like, okay, how so? And then they just go into this ramble so much until eventually they just deconstruct everything that they're already talking about. They
Mhm.
themselves deconstruct everything and then work themselves so much up into a tizzy that, as we see on screen with Vicini, it literally is his death.
Yeah.
Like he counterpoints himself so many times in that exchange between him and Wesley that Wesley doesn't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Like he does it to himself.
Yep,
It's like the snake
exactly.
eating its own tail.
Yeah.
He like goes into this workup of like, I'm going to outsmart you, but instead I'm gonna outsmart myself. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what he does. He outsmarts himself. He grabs the fucking glass, chugs it,
Well,
and
no, it's funny because the way he distracts Wesley in that moment where he's just like, "What's that over there?" And he's just like, "Huh?" Wesley just turns his head and he quickly, like, changes, like, the cups.
yeah.
And then he, like, takes the glass that he didn't think had, like, the poison in it, and the way and a lot of people die like this in the movie, which I think is why I love this movie so much. I just love the way he just dies off screen. He just kind of like, "Ugh." It's kind of like a way that I think what's so most charming about this movie. I didn't mention this yet, but
Yeah.
Rob Reiner makes so many movies that it feels like someone like you or me can make it.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's the most accessible thing, and I could totally see myself like making like a movie like a Princess Bride, like when it come down like down to the humor, down to like how these people are dressed or how these people are acting, or just like it's I don't know. I love how accessible like everything in this movie looks, even down to like the whole death sequence of just someone just like going off camera.
Mhm. Yeah,
Just
it's perfect timing. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be over the top. And for someone like Vicini is a perfect like just send off of just like, and we're done. Like,
Yeah.
and you stop talking. Like,
Record scratch.
yeah, just like and obviously that's when Wesley comes in contact with Princess Buttercup after, and they're like, I, how she hadn't figured out at this point that it is Wesley, even up until this point, it is a few minutes after, but like how she didn't find out, even when they were actually talking to each other,
Mhm.
like face to face. And
Yeah.
they, they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth of like, "Oh, well, you don't know me. Oh, well, you don't know me." Funny thing is, we both know they both know each other. That dramatic irony on screen of like they know each
Yeah.
other. We just gotta wait. You know.
Yeah.
And she is saying that all this pain that I felt, knowing that he was gone the entire time, that Wesley was gone, that Wesley was dead. Um, actually spouted one of my favorite lines of the entire movie
Mhm.
where it was I gotta find it. Life is pain. She was talking about her pain and stuff, and Wesley just snips back, "Life is pain. Whoever says differently is selling something."
Mhm.
Like, that is, like, one of the best little lines that, like, if you've dealt with depression, if you've dealt with anything, like, you can look at that, isolate that, and be like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Like, that is
It's
such a really it's really well read, it was really well said.
Mhm.
Like, it was a way
And
of them wrapping up their depression and dealing with the situation of them being apart for so long. Like, it was just a great way of bringing them together, in my opinion.
no, no, totally, and even, like, with the scene, like, after this, like, after Princess Buttercup is, like, kind of, like, saying, like, pretty terrible things, like, to Wesley at this moment, even though she doesn't know who actually Wesley is, even though, like you said, the audience, we all know who he actually is. And I'm honestly, I'm kinda screaming at Princess Buttercup, I'm just like, "Don't you see Carrie Elwes's dreamy eyes?"
Yeah,
Like, and his physique, his just his this wonderful physique.
his
But,
blonde hair.
anyways, like you said, dramatic irony. But, like, what I love most is, like, the scene that happened. It's a hilarious scene of them tumbling down the mountain.
For, like, 100 feet.
100 feet I need to know if Carrie Elwes actually, like,
I
did the
yeah,
tumbling. I don't think he
I don't
did.
think either one of them did it. it was also one of the ones that I wrote down.
Mhm.
And, after they get to the bottom, Wesley was like, "Are you okay? Can you
Mhm.
walk?" And then she goes, "If you want, I can fly." And I'm like, "Bitch, you just fell 100 feet. What do you
R
mean?" Like, you
and and as they're falling, like, their 100 feet, I love most importantly, Wesley is saying, "I wish you the best," a line that comes
or "As
back,
you wish," yeah.
or
Yeah,
as you wish."
that's how she realizes, "Oh, shit, that's Wesley."
Yeah,
'Cause that was the line that
and
he kept saying every time that she asked him to do something as a farmhand. He was like, "As you
mhm,
wish, as you wish, as you wish." And
yeah,
ultimately, it was her way of saying his way of saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." But, like, that was what, like, set it off for him
mhm,
or for her, where it was like, "Oh, fuck, that's him."
right. And I love that line kind of like it's the one that is the one thing that bonds each other, and the one, like you said, snaps her back, just because I've been in moments like that where like I can have some face blindness like here and there, and but like someone could say something like a like a funny joke, or a funny like a funny line, or just like a inflection, and I'll be like, oh shit, I know who you are. Like I've had I've had those memories. We've shared those memories before. I don't know. I just love that it was language that really they fell in like it's like love at first sight. It wasn't because of like how beautiful Carrie Ellis's eyes were, like, or how perfect his abs were. It was more of like how he spoke,
Yeah.
and what he said to her,
I
and what he did too as well.
yeah.
So
I really love the fact that they didn't go down the typical, like, route of this masked man showing up and, like,
mhm,
trying to win you back and trying to get back to
mhm,
you, and then he just takes his mask off, and it's like, "Oh." Well, it's
right,
like it's literally the love language that he shared with her
mhm,
when they were just both commoners and not,
mhm,
because now she's at this higher level of prestige now that she's
mhm,
like being married off to Humperdinck. And then he is like this, you know, well-known pirate or taken over the name of a well-known pirate.
mhm,
And has become like this legend. But it is the words that they shared as commoners, as simple, you know, these people who didn't have all this prestige, they ended up
mhm.
kind of bringing them together and waking them back up, which I think is really cool. I think it's really
Yeah.
dope.
No,
And yeah,
it's definitely really cool, and it's most definitely like really dope as well. Just because I think like especially like when you get into like new relationships, and like and or just new friendships in general, like like you're constantly thinking about like, oh, what we will do, and but like, not trying to go back to heated rivalry again, but I can't stop thinking about the show.
yeah,
It's like that is like a relationship, or like a romantic relationship that was brewing for like 8 years.
yeah,
Like relationships take time.
mhm,
Like and like even for Princess Buttercup and Wesley, like they knew they loved each other, but they had to work on themselves. They had to like let kind of like let time work its magic,
yeah,
and like, by the time they were able to see each other again, like, that's, like, their love was even stronger. But yeah, does that make sense?
yeah, yeah.
Hopefully so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know you haven't seen Heated Rivalry, but it's
No,
just like,
I mean,
I couldn't help but think about Heated Rivalry when watching Princess Bride for
no, yeah. Well,
repeatedly.
there's obviously a lot of parallels between this movie and many other things that come out
Mhm,
later on because a lot of people were influenced by The Princess Bride.
mhm,
Um, so like the influences that this movie holds on other things later on down the line are going to be experienced forever. Like
mhm,
we're gonna see allusions to this movie for a very long time.
yeah,
Because it is kind of regarded as one of those classics. At least nowadays it is. Now that we're
yeah.
20, almost 30 something years out, is
It's
definitely going to be.
Next year will be its 40th anniversary.
Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Jeez.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
I had to do the math before we started recording, and I was just like,
That's crazy. Yeah, but I think it's really dope that, they came together in the way that they did on that hill. And then obviously they still have more trekking to do because they have to make their way and call off this whole marriage and be done with it all. And they go through that forest that we were talking about a second ago, where they have the sand pits, the fire pits, which, by the way, there was no explanation of why the fire is the fire. It's just like there's fucking fire. And it's like, okay, we're all like, we're all in this magical land, like, or at least the fantasy land. The magic is never expressed in this movie, never once. But we were like, we're in this fantasy land, so we're not really gonna think anything of it. But there's like fire pits, and it's just combustible fire. She almost, Robin Wright actually almost burned her hair on said fire in the fire pits, and obviously, burned her foot, or at least got close to burning her foot since they had to light her on fire that first day. And
what a great first day.
what a wild way to open up filming, right?
Your first movie.
Yeah,
we're gonna light you on fire.
we're gonna light you ablaze and see how you do. God,
witch, you're a witch. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so they go into these woods. By the way, whenever they go down the sand pit, like, it's not quick. It's quicksand.
Yeah.
But what we know as quicksand in stories, in movies, and whatever, it's actually rather slow. In this, it's like a fucking pitfall.
Yeah.
It's like, and she's just gone.
Literally sucked into the pit.
Yeah. And then Wesley goes into the pit.
Yeah.
And then obviously he reaches himself back out, but he also has like a rope, and like it tightens. But we also see no give when he's like trying to get up out of the sand pit. So it's so funny to be like watching the rope. We're expecting like some sort of pull to show that they're pulling themselves up, and then it's just hand.
Yeah.
And I know I know it's such a hokey thing to like point at and kind of laugh at, but it's just so funny to see that.
No, it's a funny visual for sure, and it almost it basically reminded me of those reverse cow birth videos from school, seeing like a cow. You see a cow birth out a calf.
Yeah.
And then my teacher was just some sick and twisted individual and rewound that, and seeing like the veterinarian just push the calf right up.
It's kind of what it feels like, because it's like it's so strange that it's just like, and they fall, and then it's like, and they're easily back up. It's like, okay, dude, like, all right. It's like, I understand I'm in a fantasy land, but come on, we gotta have some rules here. We gotta have some.
But that also goes back to like the whole charm of like, this is shoot, I'm sorry. It goes back to Peter Falk telling the story.
Yeah.
Like I've had like my grandparents like tell me stories like when I was younger, and I didn't ask questions like when stuff like this would pop up, and like I love that like this movie has that feeling.
Yeah.
Like so much like sprinkled throughout it. And I could definitely, and I feel like a bad movie, like of this stature, you would constantly be cutting back to the Fred Savage character. I feel like this movie calls back to Fred Savage like just enough. That's all we need. That's all we need. But like a bad movie would constantly be cutting back and forth, and I'm just glad that we get enough Fred Savage that we need. So,
well, Rob Reiner and the writer obviously trust that the audience is going to be intelligent enough to be like, yo, this is a story. We're obviously telling a story within a story, and we're smart enough to like know that you're smart enough to be able to keep that in mind whenever we're doing this. I do find it funny that the whole unreliable narrator thing, because he obviously is an unreliable narrator. Throughout the entire movie, there is no like, and then Humperdinck was catching up. Yeah. Like, it's just like he's there.
Yeah.
And that is that way throughout the entire movie. Even as like they're going further and further, or closer and closer rather, to the castle, it's like he's right on their tail. And then like we get to the woods, into the forest, and then he is there. Like he's away from them. He claims that, one of I can't remember his name either. The six-handed guy or six-finger guy that Inigo eventually kills.
Is that the Christopher Guest?
Yeah, Christopher Guest character.
Yeah.
He's like,
Count Regan.
yeah, he's like, they're an hour away. And then like 2 minutes later, they caught up.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they get captured. Wesley gets captured. Buttercup gets captured. Inigo gets captured. They're all captured and brought back to the castle. And they wake up and they're like, okay, we need to figure something out. Or no, I think Inigo goes to go find Billy Crystal's character. Inigo and Andre the Giant's character go and find Billy Crystal's character, which is how they get to the castle and everything. And Billy Crystal is not in this movie for very long, but when he is, like, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun when he's in there for, the 5 minutes that he's in there. But yeah, they find a way to get out there and get to the Pit of Despair. Now, granted, the Pit of Despair is in a tree, right?
Yeah.
It has a door in the tree, right?
Yeah.
No button.
Maybe there's a button because he laid on the tree and maybe pushed like a random button on the tree and then the door opened.
You would think that there'd be a clicking sound to indicate, hey, we hit something.
Yeah.
He's just like, put hand on head up against tree, door open. No click, nothing.
Maybe someone was on the other side of the door and like saw that he was giving up and like, no, what? Here we go.
But then Inigo does it too. Inigo does it too.
Okay.
Inigo does it later on, doesn't he? I think it's him that does it later on.
Oh yeah, like, you're right.
You're right. Then go in, and it's like, where's the button, dog?
Right. Maybe it's all vibes.
Yeah.
All vibes.
I mean,
yeah.
It's so funny that it's that it's done that way, and like they go into the Pit of Despair, and Christopher Guest actually asks because they have Wesley in there, and Christopher Guest's character goes down there to then torture Wesley to get information as to where Buttercup is, I believe, at this point, because she took off. And he's down there, and he asks Chris Sarandon's character, Humperdinck, do you want to go down there and be with me to be a part of this? And he goes, I have my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and someone to frame it on. And it's like, okay, dude, like, that's a great line, and he reads it off so well. But it's like, where did you pull that off of? Out of nowhere. And like that just shows how good Chris Sarandon is, because he does it so well.
He pulled it from a script.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I mean, like, I'm saying like as far as like as a character, like you're gonna, I got my wife to murder. I got someone to pin it on. I gotta go. I'm gonna go. We've done all of this just to murder her at this point. I'm gonna treat this like any other Tuesday.
Right. Well, no, that's what I love, like the whole metatextual nature of like of this entire movie, because it knows what type of movie it is, but it also like it's having fun with it as well.
Yeah.
Having fun with like kind of like the traditional tropes of these types of movies. And I don't know, like I love that line too, just because he it's delivered perfectly, because it's like he doesn't take a breath.
Yeah.
Like during all that.
No.
And I don't think you have like I feel like if you do take a breath, then that's when the audience will be kind of like, oh, what am I watching at this? But what am I watching here? But since he did it without taking a breath, it's like, oh man, this guy's serious. Like, yeah. But
yeah, that's when we get into like Wesley being tortured by Christopher Guest's character, and then eventually,
insane.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna take a year off of your life, and then like you're lucky I didn't go any higher than 5 years, and then goes immediately to 50.
Yeah. You know what? I'm very disappointed in Rob Reiner that he didn't take it to 11.
Yeah, I know.
Like, why is it to 50? Why can't it just go to 11?
And then have like a little quip of Wesley being like, that's a very odd number of years or something like that. That would have been hilarious. Because that would be something in his character. That would have been in Wesley's character for him to be like, that's a very odd number of years. And then like as he's like dying in front of us.
Yeah. Sucking the life out of
Yeah.
Wesley,
Yeah.
which play on words, I don't know, not trying to go back to heated rivalry.
Yeah. I was like, wait, in all the times that I watched this, did I just miss like where they put the suction cups, like where on his body they put the suction cups? And I like paid attention, like really paid attention. I was like, okay, they didn't put it there. Although it would have been funny if they did actually put one on his dick, but they didn't.
It's
Yeah, they go and push his life up to 50. They give 50 years off of him, put him in this bed, and then we get like an allusion to Romeo and Juliet, where Buttercup obviously goes and is put in that room with Wesley, sees him on the bed, and she is told, hey, say your goodbyes, all that fun stuff. And she was about to kill herself. And right when she was about to like stab herself in the chest, he says another great line that made me believe that this was another reason or another line that made this like people look at him for Pierre Despereaux. He said, there's a shortage of beautiful breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage yours. And does it so smoothly. So smoothly that it's like, how the? Really well done. All right.
Yeah, really well done. It makes you kind of.
I wish I was that
made me
smooth.
wonder how a movie like this kind of stood the test of time, because, like, I want to say like it's a little misogynistic, but it's also not
It's very
in a way.
playful because they're obviously in love with each other. So like,
Yeah.
if there wasn't that chemistry there before, if
Mhm.
there wasn't that history with them, I don't think it would have worked. If it was someone that he was just showing up to be the savior of the damsel in distress,
Yeah.
I think that's when it would be, a little more creepy. But because they had this long history with each other,
Yeah.
and it was like, this is obviously his sense of humor. This is obviously what he is like as a character, like trying to be funny in an effort to deviate away from the seriousness of the situation. Right?
No, I'm totally with you on that. It's just something that, like, as he said that, I was like, Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of laughing at it at the same time. I'm wondering if I should be laughing at this, but
Yeah.
I think it's great because he obviously, like, he cares about her.
Yeah.
It's like it's like it's like uh, those look great on you. So it's just like,
Yeah.
don't
do
hurt
that.
yourself.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
Wait a
don't do
minute.
that.
I'm not dead
Yeah.
yet. Hold on now.
Yeah.
If I'm still alive,
Yeah.
I can't have you dead. I like those things. Like,
Yeah.
let's not do
Yeah.
this. Yeah, like him waking up and her being by his side and be like, oh thank God. Because that would suck to see like her die after all that. But it was like really well done that he wakes up and he's like, okay, I also can't move. But then says that, and then Humperdinck walks in and he's like, I'ma fuck you up. And he's like, call my bluff. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna make you feel pain. I'm gonna make everyone hate you. I'm gonna make everyone look at you like, ew. Cut off your arms, cut off your legs, mangle your face, but keep your ears in order for you to have to hear the screams. Which is so devious.
Oh,
and so dark, but it's so good.
Yeah. It's so evil. It's probably like probably one of the more evil scenes that I can think of in like film history. Just because hearing, like, it's something to feel the torture. It's enough to kind of like have like that torture like live with you throughout your life. But hearing like the screams, the agony, and also what people are saying about you.
Oh man, that's
like
a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother level of evil. But I love it so much just because it's like you don't see villains like this.
No, you
like
don't.
hardly ever. So,
and again, just the smoothness of the way that he delivered that makes it even more devious because you believe it. Because you're like, oh yeah, he's obviously going to do that. So, like, it's so great to have him deliver that line in the way that he did to make him believable as a hero, but also believable as an anti-hero. Because he kind of is in a way, since he had that life of like, oh yeah, I'm a pirate. I'm going to do, piratey things. I'm going to go and do what needs to be done in order to survive. So I'm willing to go that low, but I'd rather not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really well done.
Yeah.
Really well
No,
done.
no, I totally agree, and it's probably one of my. uh, I don't know if it's my favorite moment, but I just love the way like that the final fight sequence like even starts where it's like he needs to heal him back
Yeah.
to to regular strength in order to fight him because the like you it's more it shows like what it shows so much about his character because usually you see like villains like beat someone down until like they're incredibly weak and then kill them.
Yeah.
But here it's like like he won't he'll feel empty inside when he's like beating up on someone that is weak.
Yeah. Or
You know what I'm
perceives to be weak. Yeah.
yeah,
But
perceived to be
he is
yeah.
also, it is also harkening back to that like battle of wits that he had with Vicini, where he was like,
Mhm,
you want to call my bluff?
mhm,
Do you want to find out? Like, do you really? Like he was trying to like psych him out
mhm,
to see if he'll do something.
yeah,
And it was just like, you know what? You've gotten this far.
yeah,
Like, I'd rather not try to find out. And then we immediately cut to Inigo, now dealing with
mhm,
his part of the story, where
yeah,
he finally gets his wrap up. He meets
mhm,
Christopher Guest's character, sees that he's the six fingered man. It's like,
mhm,
ah,
yeah,
you're the guy who killed my father. And then of
yep,
course, the one line that he's been, repeating to everyone that he's kind of come in contact with, who he's battled with, especially with Wesley, mostly only with Wesley. But
mhm.
the one line that everybody knows from this movie, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Now prepare to die.
Now prepare to die.
And this is right when he's like, that's it, light bulb. It's you. I've been
Mhm,
searching my entire life for you. I've been
mhm,
training for you.
mhm.
Now we're here. You
Mono
better bring
mono.
it. Yeah. And they also have this crazy dance together where they're doing this choreography. Now, granted, to me, it feels like it's a little too fast,
Yeah,
but like because you've got all this build up. Now, granted, the movie again, hour and 20 minutes long, whatever. But
yeah,
so maybe it's like the correct proportional amount of time for a movie of this runtime. But you've got all of this. It's working up to this entire sequence, and then it lasts like all of 5 minutes. But
mm,
they get into that fight together, and it's looking a little rough on Inigo because he's just getting his ass handed to him. There's
yeah,
a guy who obviously has a lot more experience in sword fighting than Inigo does, but Inigo has the heart. So he's
mhm,
able to get that second win back. And as soon as he does, like, fuck yeah. Like, we're
mhm,
going to do this. And he starts to, he brings that fire up within him because he's fired up. He just keeps coming at him. He gives him the
mhm.
2 marks on the cheek that he's got on his
Yeah.
face as a way of
I
disrespecting him.
I love that I love that moment too, where they both kind of like share like the same scars now,
Yeah.
and it's just it it it's such a
That's
good
it.
fight sequence. It's a
Perfect.
yeah, exactly. Chef's kiss, like
Perfect.
at that moment, and it's I don't know. It's I love like what you mentioned there about how it's like going super fast and compared to like the homoerotic like
Yeah.
moments that Inigo and Wesley had, just because like yeah, there's a little bit of homoeroticism like in this final fight, but it's like they don't like there's history there, but it's not the history that they worked on.
No.
Like it's it's anger because like this man killed his father.
Yeah.
And and I don't know. I just love like how those two fight sequences kind of like they battle each other out,
Yeah.
but also they're also doing two completely different things as well. So
I think, Wesley's and Inigo's fight obviously is mostly based on respect.
mhm,
That entire sequence is like, okay, let me test you, you test me, and we can figure out where we
mhm,
are together. This Inigo is going in, going, I don't give a fuck about your skill
yeah,
level. I'm going in to do the one thing that I trained my entire life to do.
Mhm.
I'm going in to finish this. It's been too long. I've put my entire life on hold until I got to this moment.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do whatever I need to do with as quick as I need to do it
Mhm.
to be done with it, which is where I'm kind of like also going back on the very thing that I said 2 minutes ago, where I was like, maybe it was too fast. But
Mhm.
now that I think about it a little bit more, which is why we have these conversations, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
is like this is the one thing that he was literally killing for and
Mhm.
would do anything to get.
Yeah.
And so the time frame didn't matter to him, whether it be fast, slow, whatever. He's like, I just want to get this fucking done.
Yeah.
And he does.
'Cause it's been eating away at him
Yeah.
for, like, 1, the whole movie, but really his whole life
Yeah.
ever since, like,
It's the
his
one thing
father
that
was
drove
killed.
him, but it's also the one thing that is like keeping him back from doing anything else.
Yeah. So,
Anything else.
what do you do in that situation? You wanna rip off the Band-Aid
Yeah,
if
you just want
you
to be
have,
done
like,
with
an
it.
opportunity.
You're just like,
Yeah.
it's
So
here, it's here. We're already here. We might as well finish it. And you
yeah.
know, they basically, go after each other constantly. He does eventually kill him after
Mhm.
being completely bloodied and broken and beaten. Um,
Mhm.
they meet up with Princess Buttercup and Wesley after the fight. You can see that Inigo is obviously like beating the fuck up. And
Yeah.
he is during that fight and he's like stumbling along. But the funny thing to
Yeah.
me is like as soon as they get into that bedroom where everybody is,
Mhm.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. All right. I'm all right.
Right.
I haven't been stabbed 4 or 5 times. I'm good.
Right.
And then
Well, it goes back to, like, what we're saying about, like like, he was leading up to this moment. He needed to kill shoot.
I can't
He
remember his name either.
Count Rugen.
Yeah.
He needed to kill him. Like, this is what he was been fighting for the entire movie, and it's like he finally does it, and when he gets to the bedroom, he's just like, eh, not trying to get sexual because I know this is a kid's movie, it's almost just like a relief where he's just like lays back, just like, "Huh,
It's like
let's
finally.
can I have a cigarette?"
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's fucking done. Thank God.
Right? Uh, I don't know. I love their reaction because it's just like relief.
Yeah.
I made it. I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, now let's just now let's go. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they eventually like get into that room and everyone's finally together, except for on the under the giant, but then you look
Mhm.
and he's standing outside,
Mhm.
out there with those 4 beautiful white horses
Mhm.
ready to leave. And he's just like it's so funny because he's like, I just found these 4 white horses. Just in his like very giantesque, like gentle giant kind of way, like, look what I found,
Yeah.
guys. Look, I found a way to get out of here. And then you see that majestic fall of
Mhm.
Princess Buttercup, which is also another like really iconic, shot and stuff, and she's falling down. He catches
Yeah.
her. He's like, "Hello." Like, "All right, let's go now." And then it's just them 4 riding off. And that's
Yeah.
ultimately how the movie ends. Other
Yeah.
than like a little tit for tat between the grandfather who's like, they were talking about they ride off, they go and live their own separate lives and go do their thing. And then obviously Buttercup and Wesley meet each other again and actually have a moment to themselves and have that one kiss. And, throughout the entire movie, the grandson is like, I don't really like kissing. I don't like it in the book. And then the grandfather was going to admit it because of
Mhm.
that. And he's like, you don't want to hear this part. It's all kissing. He's like, yeah, maybe I do want to hear this part. So it's like a
'Cause they
little
both
bit of growth. Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, it's a little bit of growth even within the grandson. So like we
Mhm.
get a character development even within his story, which is
Yeah.
where like, the 2 stories in one aspect comes into play. So like they the grandfather describes that kiss and he's like, huh, I'm happy with the way it ended, despite
Mhm.
not being happy with the possibility of there being kissing in this fantasy realm in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is really
Well,
cool.
it's because, like, there's time in between that.
Yeah.
Like, time for Fred Savage to actually hear, like, the story out
Yeah.
and see where it was going. Like, it had, like, all the stuff that he loves. It has like sword fighting and like action adventure and like true love all kind of like buried within that. And then he started getting invested in it, much like anytime when you and I watch like a movie, we get invested in the characters and we want what's best for him.
Yeah.
And at the end, Fred Savage wanted what was best for Wesley and Princess Buttercup.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think it's like a perfect like bow to tie up like the stories because it's like you said, it's growth.
Mhm.
It's growth for the Fred Savage character. And I know like I know this movie is very beloved and people love this movie. And I said at the beginning of the podcast, like I'm not like I like this movie a lot. There's a lot of things that I think are really great about this movie. I don't think I love it as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
I think it's because I've seen so many movies that are like this now,
Yeah.
and I see kind of like the framework of it, and actually seeing like where all these ideas came from. It's nice, but it's kind of like I've seen it better done in other ways compared to like a movie like Seven when I was on your first episode of your podcast. Like I can see like I feel it's like that's the opposite
Yeah, it's a standout.
where it's like it's a standout. Like all these other movies try to copy like what Seven did and don't do it as successfully.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I do plan on rewatching this like probably every year to see if it gets see if it gets any better. Just because I hear so many things, like especially with you, like during this conversation, it's like like you find like new things like every year. Like this is like a timeless movie, and
Yeah.
I and like it's definitely like one of those movies I want to like rewatch every year, and I don't want to see a remake.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those movies that I feel like this is since this movie is so timeless. This needs to be remastered and remastered and remastered, not remade. Just because I don't think you can strike lightning in a bottle like you do like with this movie. Because I feel like though, especially the way this movie ends, you could have like multiple sequels of this if you really wanted to. Like
Yeah.
if you're like a studio exec where like maybe it's Fred Savage coming back as like an older man and he's telling like the like another story to his grandson and stuff like that and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I just I don't know. I
I don't
don't
see the
think it would hit the
necessity.
same. I don't
Yeah.
think it would hit the same.
I hope to God they don't do that because it ends in such a good a nice little bow, you know? They wrap up the story and
Mhm,
and the grandson is like, "Hey, can you, like, come back another time and read it?" And
mhm.
it obviously ends with that one line, "As you wish,"
Yeah.
which is a good way of saying, "Hey, I'm gonna come back," but also it was, like, their way of saying, you know, as we know between Buttercup and Wesley, their
Mhm.
way of saying, "I love you," which is a great way of because, like, in the beginning, the grandson did not want his grandfather there.
Yeah, he wanted to play his video games
He's
and
like,
watch
"Leave me alone.
TV
Leave me alone."
and and I think that's also like it says oh, I didn't mention this, but I want to bring it up now. I think
Yeah.
it also says a lot about like video games and what it says what it has like on like today's youth. Not saying that video games are a bad thing as someone that just purchased a Switch too. Hooray. But like I think that the power of storytelling and just the power of just especially an elder just telling stories to like young kids and enhancing their creativity. I feel like that is more powerful than like what a video game can do, especially like the game that Fred Savage's character
Yeah.
was playing in this. It's like he's not really enhancing like his mind at all, but like his imagination like was did wonders like after hearing like this story just because he grew as a person and so did the audience. So it's like not trying to like hate on video games because I love video games, but it's just like there's a time and a place for them. There's
Yeah.
a time and I love where this movie kind of ends on that where it's just like creativity is important. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I I love that it was all centered around a book and fairy tales and stuff like that because fairy tales have been in our lives for a very long time. Disney, Pixar, all those things have been in
Mhm.
our lives for a very long time, and that's kind of what they were going for with this. And I'm glad that it wrapped up and showcased like the power of the imagination with a book.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it would probably like at that time gave like a lot of kids the idea of going and reading something that they wouldn't necessarily read, or even watching a movie that they wouldn't necessarily watch, because I'm sure a lot of kids would see the title The Princess Bride and be put off by it. But thanks to parents showing it to their kids a lot like my parents did to me, it's one of those movies that like once you watch it, you're like, I like this. And I'm sure that like, and that's kind of the thing with the whole book and the story of the grandfather reading to the kid, you know? Didn't think he would like it, and then he ended up
Mhm.
liking it by the end. So yeah, I think that's a great little way of showing that if you give something a shot, you may end up like,
Yeah. And then honestly, a perfect, like, just tagline for your podcast.
yeah,
Just give it a shot.
just give it a shot.
You
You may
might
end up
end up
liking it.
liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. You already said that you would possibly give this a watch. I've been kind of now asking people, after their first watch, do you think you would give this a rewatch? Because this does have rewatchability. You've already stated that you kind of will. I like that you said that you would probably give it a rewatch, because it is one of those movies that I rewatch every once in a while. I've seen it 3 times in the past year, and granted, this is mostly because of like things like this where we're doing podcasts and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So ultimately, I've kind of had to. But it's also
Yeah.
one of those that like if I throw it on again, I'm not gonna be upset by it. I'm gonna sit there and
No,
watch it.
it's yeah, especially if it were pop on TV.
Yeah,
But I know that, like, that's probably fading away now, especially in our distant future, but I don't know, it's definitely one of those. If I ever saw it on TNT, I would be like, "No, I'm just gonna sit down, plop down and watch it,
yeah,
even though I have things to do."
yeah.
But and also, like, I didn't give my rating for this, and I know you don't typically
Oh,
do
go for it. Go
ratings,
for
like,
it.
on the short format, but I gave this, like, 3 out of 5 stars, but, like, even throughout this conversation, I feel like it deserves a lot higher of a rating, like, now, just because it's like, I think I would go 3.5, and every single time I watch it, it'll probably go up about a half a star.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that's what matters.
Yeah.
Point is because people always ask me like, "Oh, why is this movie so low?" Ratings don't matter.
No.
It's how they impact someone,
Yeah.
like, how the movie impacts someone. That's what
Yeah.
matters. But yeah.
Yeah. As you know, at the end of each
Mhm,
podcast, I ask,
mhm.
what is a movie that you have seen that you think a lot of people have not seen that others should give a shot for the very first time? So, has there been a movie since the last time you were on that you have watched that you think that others should give a shot that most probably haven't?
Well, I mentioned this multiple times throughout the podcast, but Secondhand Lions,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty beloved, like, movie, but also kinda, like, uses, like, uses the Princess Bride format of, like, these 2 old men telling, like, stories about their lives, but in, like, a fairy tale, like, type setting. They're obviously, like, the unreliable narrator to Haley Joel Osment. I love that movie. I will continue to love that movie and always support it. I think that I know it can be a little problematic in some of its depictions of some of its characters, but I don't care. It's one of those movies that it's an early 2000s movie that I absolutely love. But yeah, Secondhand Lands, and then, since we're talking about fairy tales and, like, just storybook stories, Lady in the Water.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's another movie that, like, when watching A Princess Bride, I kinda, like, wasn't I thought of, like, a lot. Like, just it doesn't necessarily have, like, a unreliable narrator, but it's basically it's an old Lady in the Water was an old story that M. Night Shyamalan used to tell to his daughters, and he made a movie about it, and I can imagine Rob Reiner, like, reading, like a Princess Bride to, like, his kids and, like, or just other children as well, and passing along, like, that tradition to the people that watched his movie, and I think that was his main goal, and I think that's beautiful, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Marley,
Yeah.
where could we find you online? I know we've already
Um,
done this, but if people come across this episode and haven't seen the 7th episode, where can we find you?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me, Drake.
Of course.
I've always enjoyed talking movies with you, and I'm excited to be on more and have you on my podcast, the podcast that I host, the Real Livers podcast, and you were on 2 episodes of that so far. It's a Wonderful Life and The Holdovers,
Mhm.
2 real great episodes to end the year. But yeah, I'm really proud of that podcast. We're covering all the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250, and we're gonna be doing a lot of movies in in 2026. A
You
lot
have
of
a lot to cover.
important movies. Yeah, and we're covering the Letterboxd Top 250 on that podcast, and then we're also this year covering Variety's Top 100 comedies of all time, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, I think we've already talked about having me on for that as well, for a few of
Yeah,
those. We
yeah.
gotta look at that list.
Definitely some weird choices that Variety had on that list, but we'll get into that. We don't have to get into it on this recording, but subscribe to that podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, and then you can also follow me on social media with the username at Marley Loves Movies. I'm talking about movies everywhere on that platform and posting when I can. And also another little social media page if people are still on social media, Nerds and Goobers. Like this is a page that I kind of started with, or one of my coworkers started, and we basically just play board games and post like our highlights of like us playing board games like on that channel. So Nerds and Goobers, check it out. But yeah, thank you, Drake.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for introducing me to this movie
Yeah.
and getting me to finally watch this.
Yeah, I'm glad you finally
the
got
first
around to
time.
it. Yeah. And in fashion to this movie, instead of saying what we usually say to end the podcast, I'm just going to say, as you wish.